Yes, it is time for an interview here on 1700. You're here with your hosts, Victoria and Nick. Say hello, Nick.
Hello, hello.
And we are here to have a chat with the lovely indie pop singer, songwriter, and multi-instrumentalist. We might as well call her the multi-talented LIZE.
Hi, everyone.
Hey. Firstly, I just want to say I hope you've been well during this isolation period. How have you been spending your days during this time?
Definitely writing songs and singing, and that's basically it. The days just sort of fly by singing.
Well, it's interesting because we're all in isolation at the moment. You know, we're all at home spending so much time. Do you find that spending so much time at home is actually helping you and motivating you to write music?
Definitely. Yeah, I find myself sitting at the piano for hours just because I have the time to do that. And it's actually been really good to sort of have inspiration come from different things rather than other people. It's been interesting, yeah.
Definitely.
Very interesting. And have you always grown up playing piano? Is that your go-to instrument?
Yeah, definitely. So I am a self-taught pianist and guitarist.
Wow.
So I've never had any lessons for either of them, but I sort of started playing piano when I was maybe about 5. And then when I was around 13, I sort of picked up the guitar and started to write songs on that as well. Yeah.
It's really interesting because it's quite a classical upbringing almost. You know, you started with the piano, and in your bio you write that you were kind of brought up with this classical training. Now with your music, you've shifted to the more kind of contemporary tone, one could say. How have you kind of found that shift between or from the classical to the contemporary?
Well, I definitely think having a classical upbringing has really helped me, technique-wise, and it's really helped me be able to perform live quite well, I guess. So there's not much difference between in a studio and live for me because I've been so classically vocally trained. But I definitely found my love for contemporary music writing my own songs, and when I first discovered Triple J. And I think that the transition for me has been kind of easy. It's sort of just eased into it, but I definitely think I draw on my classical trainings still.
Wow, and that's such an awesome story you have of like how you taught yourself how to play all these instruments and how you've combined that with your love of singing and, like you said, performing in Melbourne. How have you felt during, of course, this unfortunate time of the pandemic? How's that affected you as an artist not being able to have the opportunity to perform gigs anymore?
It's a bit disappointing, yeah, not being able to perform live, but I have been doing a few live videos on Instagram and still posting some covers and sort of trying to give people some entertainment and keep the momentum going, I guess. And only recently did I release my first single out onto Spotify, so a few days ago, which is All That I'll Ever Want. And so it's really exciting to be able to do this. And then I'll be releasing some more music, and then hopefully I can have a big gig and sort of celebrate it all and get it all out there. Yeah.
Well, as you've just said, Liz, you've just released your first track, All That I'll Ever Want. How did actually this release go? You said it was only just a couple of days ago. Was it as you expected it? Was it more exciting, more daunting? How did it go?
It was actually more stressful than I originally thought it would be, because there's a lot more behind the scenes that, you know, it's not that easy to just release it everywhere. But it was definitely quite successful, I think, from my end. I got it out there, posted on all my social medias. People seem to really get around it. It's now on everything, even TikTok. Yeah. So it was actually quite smooth getting it all out there.
That's so good to hear as well, considering now it could be so much more stressful than normal. And the fact that you've gotten that success, firstly, like congratulations, because that's such a big, like, important part of your career as a singer. So that's awesome. And I listened to the track myself actually, and it's so powerful. I literally
Thank
was
you.
listening to it being like, wow, this has got some deep stuff in it. And
So good.
what inspired that? That's my first question, because I was just so moved by it.
Well, it's actually not as deep and meaningful, the inspiration behind it.
Oh, really?
It actually came to me. I was in an Uber on the way home from a night out, and I drove past a McDonald's, and I just thought to myself, that's all I'll ever want. And I ended up writing that line down because I thought that'd be kind of cool to write a song. And I woke up in the morning and it was just there when I opened my phone, and I was like, hey, maybe I should write a song based around that
That
line.
makes
I
me like it
love that.
even more, because I feel like I have that feeling when I drive past McDonald's as well. So you've
Yeah.
actually, again, something relatable for us to listen to.
Mm.
Yeah.
And it's spontaneous as well, which I really like. You know, it wasn't like you sat down at your piano and you're like, okay, I'm gonna think of a song name and go from there. It was, you know, just in this moment that you probably were not even thinking about music, and you saw this and it just prompted this instant reaction. Do you think that this will kind of be how you progress with music, you know, being spontaneous and just kind of letting moments inspire you that you may have never thought would?
Yeah, no, definitely. I've never really been able to sit down and say, okay, I'm going to write a song now. It's always been a bit spontaneous for me, and when I'm feeling it, it'll just all come out. But if I'm not, it's quite challenging. But it's always sort of been that way for me, and especially during isolation, I've been just looking at random things, going for walks, looking at nature and seeing it and thinking, wow, this is really inspiring. And I just get inspiration from the most random things.
Yeah.
That's so good. And I find you're quite honest in a lot of your songs as well. And that makes sense if you get inspiration, just like you said, from random things like McDonald's or the nature. What type of response do you get from people when you're singing about those types of things?
Well, I tend to connect those initial inspirations to things that have happened to me during my life. I like to draw on my own personal experiences. So I think that a lot of people can either relate to some of them, or they'll either be a bit curious as to who's this about kind of thing. But yeah, no, I think definitely people tend to relate to a lot of the stuff that I've put out there in the past and sung, and which is what I'm going for, you know, people my age just sort of trying to figure it out.
Yeah, nice.
It's interesting because we've spoken to a lot of artists on 1700, and they speak a lot about, you know, writing the truth, you know, writing about their own experiences, and, you know, their past, their future, their present, whatever that may be. Do you kind of find that, I know that you've answered this already, but just going on it a little bit more, do you think that writing about your own personal experiences is really fundamental to your music writing?
Definitely. Yeah, I find it a lot easier to write about something. It's sort of an outlet for me. If I'm really
Yep.
struggling to come to terms with something, I write songs about it, and it's, I guess, a way for me to just get it all out there, because I find it hard to speak about it, but it's a lot easier to sing about it for me. So I tend to write that out. And I think people like to listen to something that's honest and truthful, and, you know, they might be going through a similar situation.
Awesome. And I guess that's such a good way to connect with your audience, by seeing stuff that they can really relate to. And I was just checking as well, because I remember you mentioned your covers, and I know you've done like a few amazing ones. What inspires you to, like, what one do you pick? How do you know what song you're going to do for that day?
I sort of just, whatever vocally works with me. So I'm very particular about what songs I choose to sing, which I think is, a lot of that comes from my classical training, because you have to pick a song that's suitable for your range, for your voice. So I listen to a lot of music, and a lot of music. and I'll just find this, you know, one niche song that I think would really convey my voice well, or I think also songs that relate to what I'm going through at a certain time also speak to me, and I'll sort of choose songs along those lines.
Mm. I think it's really cool, and just looking at kind of how you pick music and how you go about writing music. I think every artist has their own personal take, and it's their own personal journeys. So it's really interesting to see, the path that you take in your musical writing and performance. Looking to the future, Lies, you said there is some more music on its way. We are super excited. Can you give us a little bit more about what this may be? You may not be able to release the full details, but a little sneak peek would be wonderful.
Well, the next song that I've got coming out, I think it's released in 3 weeks' time. It's called Let Me Know. And so I've got a few songs sort of lined up in the horizon, because I wanted to spread out some isolation joy for people, and give them something to look forward to, I guess.
Definitely.
So I've got Let Me Know on the rise, and it's more sort of about like a friendship, and do you like me? Do you not? Let me know. Just things like that. It's more of a pop ballad, which a lot of my music is. And I tried to sort of bring some alternative vibes into it. So, yeah.
That sounds super exciting, and I'm sure we're going to be definitely one of the first to listen to that. When you're out of ISO, is your just number one thing to go just perform and play all these new songs live for everyone?
Definitely. So when I'm out of ISO, I'm definitely going to be setting up some gigs and speaking to some other artists I know, and even potentially asking Monash, where I'm at university, if I can perform on Monash radio or something, or on here, and just really just get my music out there.
Amazing.
Yeah, I think it'll be a really interesting space, when we can go back to, I guess, quote unquote normal, how the music industry is going to kind of reset and, reset against the times that have just been. Looking into the future, maybe a few more years down the track, once everything has gone back to, that space of normality, is there a particular musical outlet or kind of musical goal that you have in mind, whether that be playing at a musical festival, doing your own solo tour? Is there kind of something that you're working towards at the moment that has kind of stayed in your mind for a little while now?
Yeah, no, definitely. I think my ultimate goal is to play music for a living. I think to be able to absolutely do that as, I guess, an occupation, but I don't really see it that way. I see it as more of a creative outlet, and it's something that I absolutely love and can't live without. So to be able to do that as an occupation would be absolutely incredible. And I definitely would love to perform at a music festival. I think that's one of my goals, to get there. Having been to a few myself, I absolutely love them. And while some people, go for other reasons, I'm really there just straight up for the music. I love it. And to be there on the stage playing my music for a bunch of people would just be absolutely incredible.
For sure. And I'm sure, since you're so well trained, you've got such a beautiful voice, I'm sure that's not too far away from you. And speaking of that live performance feeling and how you feel when you go to festivals, what do you want to make people who see you feel?
I want to make them feel like, again, like they can relate to me, and it's sort of how they're feeling, and maybe they might be a bit lost, but you're not alone in that, and I think definitely I just want to give out some good vibes as well.
It's all about the good vibes. I totally, understand. You go to a festival, you just want to be surrounded by people, in the moment. No, there's no feeling quite like it. And it'll be really great when we can go back to attending festivals, because it is a real capstone of, the Australian music industry. Well, speaking of the industry, how have you found it working within the industry so far? Has it been quite challenging? Yeah, how have you found it?
It's quite complicated and a lot more complex, but I've definitely met some lovely, lovely people. And one of the people I've been working with for since I was 13, I think, she's Susie Ahern. She's quite well known in the industry. She sort of introduced me to people, and I've been backstage of a few concerts and carols by candlelight and meeting all these artists and people that are out there just doing what they love. And I've met some absolutely wonderful people. It's been really, really cool.
That's awesome. And I know Australia is known, especially even Melbourne, is known for such a wonderful music scene. Do you see yourself collaborating with some of the people you've met and producing more music with them?
Definitely. I think that it's really good to collaborate with people because, you know, they think of things that you might not have. And it's really interesting to hear some other people's work and sort of mesh them together. I've been working with this artist called Evan Clark in the past, who's more of a techno sort of edge to him. And that's been really interesting, getting a bit more of a techno edge onto my pop ballad kind of music. And I think there's definitely way more advantages working with people.
No, definitely. When there's, music collaborations, I think, yeah, we've spoken to a lot of artists that have said that that's been a real shifting point in their career, where it's really taken off from there or gone in a direction where they were not expecting it to. So I think it's really cool when we do have these artist collaborations to kind of see what that leads on to. So I'm sure there's plenty of exciting things coming through that pathway. Are there any, this may seem a broad question, but, beyond the Australian music industry, are there any inspirations that you take from globally or any other ones around Australia?
I definitely am really inspired by Angie McMahon, who I know is from Australia, but she went to the same school as me, a few years above me. So I have met her in the past, and I just remember seeing her perform at school and seeing her, make something of herself and thinking, wow, maybe I could do that too. Maybe it's not so far-fetched. And she's really, really inspired me to sort of pursue it. And definitely, I love Maggie Rogers. Love her. And this is going to be what everyone says, but I really, really enjoy Billie Eilish because it's alternative, it's different, and it's a bit wild, but she makes it work.
Yeah, and great influences to have as well, especially Billie right now, how old she is and everything she's achieving. So I'm completely agree with you. She's amazing. And is there a particular Billie song you always listen to, or something that inspires you, your go-to?
I really like Watch from her original album, Don't Smile at Me. I have covered that one in the past, and that was sort of the first song I ever heard of hers. And I thought, this was before she sort of blew up and became really big here in Australia. I think she was quite big in America, but not globally just yet. And I heard it and I was like, wow, this is really cool. This is really, really interesting. So I sort of then began to try and write some songs the way that she does. And yeah, so she's been very influential on me.
No, it's really awesome just to have, someone that you've really taken inspiration from and, really tried to, use their music in your own music and use their music as inspiration in your own writing. I think it's wonderful. I guess we're reaching the end of this interview, but this may seem a bit of a cliche question, and it probably is asked a lot, maybe to you as well, Lize. But for those out there who may have been in the same position as you a couple of years ago and know that music is their passion, know that music is their end goal, and they might be struggling a little bit or they're not sure where to go next, what piece of advice could you give to them just to really reassure them that their musical journey is the right one?
Definitely take every chance that you can to get out there and sing. I think one of the best things that I ever did was upload my music to Triple J Unearthed, which I then got responses from people, met a lot of people through that, started working in studios with other artists through all of that. And I think it's definitely worthwhile getting up and doing it, because it is so much fun and there's no other feeling like it.
That's amazing. I'm sure. Definitely wise words to live by. With that said, how can our viewers and our audience try and find your music? Because I, for one, want to watch more of all these covers you're talking about, because like even Billie Eilish, I'm excited to see that one already. So where can we find you?
So I'm on Instagram, LIZE_music, and my first single is out on all streaming services, called All That I'll Ever Want. And I originally posted all of my covers on SoundCloud a while ago, under the name of LIZE. So you can find some of my old songs there as well.
Awesome.
Look, Liz, it has been so wonderful talking to you today. From going from your musical journey to your influences to how the future looks. It's been so beneficial to have that musical insight, and we really appreciate you taking the time to speak to us here on 1700. As you can see, the circumstances are quite different, doing this via computer recording devices instead of the studio, but nonetheless, we really appreciate you joining us virtually and speaking about your music journey and career.
Oh, thank you so much for having me. It's been great.
Zoom again whenever you want, because you're an absolute delight, and I just want to hear how the rest of your singles and all your launches go, and of course to be at your first gig when this is all over.
Stay tuned.
And that was Vic and Nick talking to the multi-talented Lize. It was wonderful to speak to her about her musical journey. Make sure to go follow her on all her social accounts, and stay tuned for all her new music coming very soon.
And if you want more of your amazing 1700 team, remember we're going to be releasing content from Monday to Friday. So be on your TVs, be on Instagram, YouTube. We're going to be everywhere. Remember to check out 1700.
Until then, this is Vic and Nick signing out.
Bye.